Hi class, Professor Viersen, and I'd like to give you a little bit of information on the chapter 7, which is on cost volume profit analysis. And of course, this has to do with the relationship between these three items, the cost, the volume, and the profit. And I'll tell you up front that it's kind of nice because almost any question you're asked will refer back to this contribution margin income statement that is either in one of three formats. It can either be in total costs, which is the first column that I'm running the cursor over, or the cost per unit, or what they call the ratio or the percentage of the contribution margin in the variable expenses. Sales is always 100%. So the first part of this problem, it just has you fill in this table. Okay, so I took and I just transferred over the total costs, variable expenses, gave me my contribution margin in total dollars. Again, I filled in the contribution margin per unit, and then of course the contribution margin ratio. That's what these two numbers are here. And they're used for answering a lot of questions. Questions like break-even analysis, targeted profited, sensitivity analysis, multi-product analysis, operating leverage, margin of safety, all of those come from this basic concept. Okay, so we'll just run through a few of these, and I'm just looking directly at the table for this first part. So I'm looking at my total contribution margin, and that's 32,500. Each time I'll check my answer. My per unit contribution margin is $10. Okay, so $10. And check my answer. The next one is my operating income. So I look down here to operating income. Again, I'm just taking it directly from the table. How many units were sold? Okay, so to determine that, I'm going to take my total sales amount. So that's 81,250. And I'm going to divide it by the cost per unit, which is $25. And so I'm going to sell, or I did sell, 3,250 units. Okay, requirement number 2 then says begin by identifying the formula for the break-even point in units. So break-even is going to be the fixed expenses plus any operating income that you're requiring, which in the case of a break-even problem, this number is always 0. And because I want to know the break-even in units, I'm going to divide this by the contribution margin per unit. If I wanted to know how much it was in dollar amount, I divide it by the contribution margin ratio. Again, checking the answer, still doing okay. So my break even then is my fixed expenses, which are 13,000. I go back to my table, find 13,000 fixed expenses. Again, the operating income when you're breaking even is 0. Okay, and so then I divide this by the contribution margin per unit. So I go over to my table. So I'm going to divide this by 10. So I have to sell 1,300 units in order to break even. Let's make sure the answer is correct, and it is. Now, break even in sales dollars, same thing, fixed expenses, operating income of 0. Later on, we'll use operating income if we want to have a targeted profit. That's where we put that. And now we're going to divide it by the contribution margin ratio. Okay. So now the break-even point in sales dollars, again, is my fixed expenses of 13,000, and this time I divide it by my contribution margin ratio, which you can see up here, my 3 contribution margin format forms that they have. So I'm going to divide this then by 40% or 0.4. And so my break even in sales dollars is 32,500. Check my answer. Okay, so that's a little short demo in filling in your table and doing break-even analysis in both units and dollar amounts. Now it says answer the following for a targeted profit analysis and margin of safety. So how many units must the company sell in order to earn a profit of $53,000? Okay, so the targeted profit is going to be, again, the amount of fixed expenses, because you have to pay off your fixed expenses to break even, plus my targeted profit now is $53,000. And I'm going to divide this, again, the number of units that I have to sell. So I'm going to divide this by a total of 10. Because it's my contribution margin per unit is 10. And so my answer is I have to sell 6,600 units in order to have $53,000 worth of profit. Okay, margin of safety, very easy. The formula is what exactly is going to be the number of units that you sold. In other words, what is the margin of safety will be the budgeted sales units minus the break-even in sales units, and that will give me my margin of safety. Oops, something's not right. Okay, so going back to, there's a little glitch in that particular problem. I'm not sure, be careful with that. But anyway, going back to the calculation, remember from previously, we said our number of budgeted sales units we have, or the number we sold, is 3,250, and we had a break even of 1,300. So the number of margin of safety units is going to be 1,950, and hopefully we don't have another little snafu here. Okay, so 1,950, the margin of safety in sales dollars then is we're going to sell a total of, if you remember from the previous information, we sold 81,250 minus our break even, which we calculated up here, is 32,500. Means our margin of safety is going to be, and I'll put in the formula real fast, this is going to be the budgeted sales in dollars, and then the break even sales in dollars, and this time it worked, which is a little interesting. And the amount then is $48,750. Okay, and then one last part to this, identify and compute the margin of safety as a percentage. Okay, so this is going to be the margin of safety in dollars divided by the budgeted sales in dollars. Again, I'm glad there's no more problems with that. And so then this will be the 48,750, which was our margin of safety we calculated up here. Okay, we're going to divide that by the actual total number of sales that we got from the original data, which is 81,250. And it means that our margin of safety is 60%. And now we've completed the biggest problem in the homework, and hopefully that'll give you some kind of idea if you had any issues with the other questions. Remember, you can always use Help Me Solve This and ask the instructor. Okay, bye for now.